6 p.m. in Yaoundé, chief town of Cameroon, same time right in Akwadwala. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. Our top stories tonight, with just hours to go before the deadline, 50 candidates have so far submitted their files at Elections Cameroon for the presidential race. The clock is ticking for latecomers who have until midnight to submit their files. The documents will undergo scrutiny before the final list of eligible candidates is finally released. And also we tell you why is Professor Maurice Kamto's candidacy sending shockwaves, particularly among some CPDM bigwigs. Is it fear or something else? After MANIDEM's endorsement, insults and attacks have flown thick and fast. What's really at stake? Find out in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. Those are our top stories. Stay with us for more details. Thank you so much for choosing Equinoxe television to get yourself informed. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. Cameroon's ruling CPDM party is downplaying the fallout from its internal crisis, even as President Paul Biya's candidacy hangs in the balance. With two rival files submitted to Elecam, the party risks having both rejected due to electoral code provisions. Observers warn that the party's unusual infighting signals a deeper crisis. Pomian Shongsanda has the details.
It is a storm in the cup of the ruling CPDM party in Cameroon. For the first time since 1982, President Paul Biya's candidacy is being challenged within the party, signaling a rupture in the political establishment. The submitted candidacy file of Leon Taylor Onana under the banner of the ruling CPDM party defies President Paul Biya's natural candidacy narrative within the party, a challenge that risks a lot for the party, as according to the electoral code in Cameroon, if a party submits more than one candidate, both candidates will be disqualified unless the party resolves the issue internally. While Elecam's final list of shortlisted candidates is expected latest August 17, the eventual consequences of these multiple submissions are being downplayed by some CPDM party supporters and sympathizers.
He is not on the right route because we are supposed to be presented by a party and not the other way around. You don't present yourself. It is a party that presents you. Like, if you notice, it is the Secretary General of the CPDM that presented our candidate, our champion. He came with the file of the president and presented it to Elecam. Most other parties are doing the same. If you notice, even for MANIDEM, they themselves presented their candidate.
Leon Taylor Onana argued on the basis of the non-holding of the CPDM party congress as stipulated by the party text and the eventual consequences on the legitimacy of the party's flag bearer in the election.
There was a resolution of the last congress giving an authorization to the president to present his candidacy, even without approval of the Congress. It was a resolution of the Congress. So if he already has that type of resolution, why should we bother to have a Congress?
While election Cameroon scrutiny will largely be determined by the provisions of the electoral code in Cameroon, Onana's earlier petitions and eventual candidacy highlights narratives of a party on the verge of explosion.
And we stay in politics, where the endorsement of Professor Maurice Kamto by MANIDEM party has sparked intense backlash from certain government officials and civil society members who have been vocal about their disdain for the opposition leader. Notable figures like Grégoire Wona of Labour and Security and Jean de Dieu Momo have used scathing language to attack Professor Maurice Kamto. Anna Bila tells us more about these attacks.
From all indications, Professor Maurice Kamto is a major threat to the regime in power, since the MANIDEM political party endorsed Professor Kamto as its presidential hopeful for the October 12 elections, followed by the first joint outing with MANIDEM national president Anissé Kane. The man, Professor Maurice Kamto, seems to be a nightmare to some members of the regime in power and even to some actors of the civil society.
En même temps, vous ne détestez pas Kamto. Non, je hais Kamto.
A panelist on a local private TV channel declares boldly and publicly his hatred for Professor Maurice Kamto. Reasons for such hatred is still in the air, besides the fact that Professor Kamto insists that the electoral code squarely permits him to stand as candidate for the upcoming presidential election in Cameroon. Kamto's endorsement by MANIDEM has been causing shocking waves among members of government as well. Gregoire Obona, a big wig of the CPDM party, without any grounds refers to Professor Kamto as a so-called little illiterate of the law. Gregoire Obona castigates the Kamto-MANIDEM collaboration, calling it an unnatural alliance, a filthy association. Jean Detier Momo, a CPDM ally and member of government, consoles himself by trying to thwart the electoral code. Momo, in one of his outings, questions why Professor Kamto resigned from the CRM and only decides to express himself in a fortnight. However, these derogatory words or problematic outings are tied just to a group of persons or individuals. Other right-thinking politicians and Cameroonians are still to understand this degree of hate channeled towards the person of Professor Maurice Kamto, who, according to some followers, has been given his all to break the chains of suffering and misery in Cameroon for 43 years only through the ballot box. Professor Mesanga Yamding, a CPDM militant, questions why this Kamtophobia. Why are some individuals afraid of Professor Maurice Kamto? He was reproached for insisting on being endorsed by a party without elected MPs. Now, he has been lawfully endorsed by MANIDEM. Thus, this debate has to stop, Mesanga Yamding opines. He wonders aloud why certain individuals absolutely want Professor Maurice Kamto excluded from the election.
On prépare le coup de son exclusion définitive de la vie politique.
To note that the harassment on Professor Maurice Kamto's personality is motivated by the undebatable fact that he is one of the toughest and most popular opposition political figure at the moment in Cameroon.
Now to something else. The spokesperson of the Cameroonian Party for National Reconciliation, Barrister Sha Nforgang, has lambasted the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganje, over what he qualifies as defamatory statements concerning the party. The minister was speaking in a flagship program over CRTV when he put the credibility and legal stand of the party and another opposition party, which is the Union des Populations du Cameroun, UPC, and their leaders to question. Babla Jonathan has more.
Pour le cas de PCRN,
Cameroon's Territorial Administration Minister Paul Atanganje tells state media Cameroon Radio Television that he helped Honorable Cabral Libi to take part in the last municipal and legislative elections by establishing the bridge between him and the Cameroonian Party for National Reconciliation, a claim rejected by the party.
The Cameroonian Party for National Reconciliation, PCRN, condemns in highest terms the allegations or statements made by the Minister of Territorial Administration. We are in a Republican state and we have always respected the institutions of this country. To see a Minister of Territorial Administration come out on a TV station to proffer such defamatory statements to us is a problem.
Concerning the legal battle between the founding father of the Cameroonian Party for National Reconciliation and its elected and court-recognized leader, Honorable Cabral Libi, Minister Atanganje Paul, however, says victory can only be established when all judicial procedures are exhausted. In the case of Pierre Balegelcourt, recognized by the Supreme Court of Cameroon as Secretary General of the Union des Populations du Cameroun UPC political party, he talks of an appeal that is said to have suspended some court decisions without further precisions.
And now, that's it for this first part of the news. Coming up next is tonight's edition of Cameroon Today. And on tonight's edition of Cameroon Today, we'll be taking you to North Makumbe. It is found in the Kam Division, Lithura region of Cameroon, where the lack of social amenities like good roads, access to portable water, electricity has hindered development and left residents feeling disconnected from the rest of Cameroon. Smaji Kangere reports on the struggles of the people in this report.
roads in Konjo that we managed on a bike as we continued our discovery in the Nkam division. Just 5 kilometers, the bike witnessed a technical fault. Our first stop was at Mabombe, located some 10 kilometers north. In the village for months, no electricity due to some poles that fell off around the government primary school Mabombe. It's already 3 months since we are in darkness. 3 poles fell off and we were promised that we shall be reconnected. It is not the first time it's happening, and maybe when repaired, the generator too will get bad. Mabombe, as well as other villages along this stretch, seems to be forgotten at Ndoksamba. Apart from the absence of electricity, the government technical college, which has been under construction, has been abandoned for helps to take over. These classrooms recently hosted pupils and students in public exams. Next stop was at Sohok. Still no roads. The Integrated Health Center of Sohok is not easily identified. Getting inside the health center, the few medical equipment available are all rusted. Patients don't lack, but the state of the health center is not welcoming. I came here because my baby is sick, and at my place, no hospital. Reasons I traveled long to Sohok. The chief medical officer is Henry. Touched by the sufferings of the people, he has decided to sleep in the hospital. It's already 15 years since I started working here alone. The health center has been existing for over 50 years. Since the last 15 years, I am practically alone. The one who was recruited by the natives to help me recently died. I have over 13 villages to cater for, with a population of 6,500 people. I don't have a day off or leave period, so I was forced to bring my family to Bafang, which is closer to Sohok. Where you see me coming out from is my sleeping room. Henry lacks everything in his health center. On the day of this report, he was using the last test strip for malaria. Henry and others in Sohok say the government has abandoned them. They should at least think about the Integrated Health Center of Sohok, because here we have no water, just like the natives of Sohok. The borehole we dug is already bad. The lab is not working. We use symptoms to determine what is wrong with the patient brought here, and if it is complicated, we refer them elsewhere. It is so sad what we have here, because we have no doctors. The main doctor struggles to get the necessary things needed for the running of the hospital. We don't even know if we are Cameroonians or not. Let the state look into our problems. Sohok, Ndobian, Ndoksamba, Mabombe, and other localities in this zone are in pains, and they want changes to come from the government.
And that's how we saw it for tonight's edition of Cameroon Today, with Smaji Kangebe reporting on the challenges faced by the population of Makombe. It is found in the Kam Division, the littoral region of Cameroon. And now we take you straight away out of Cameroon. Tensions are rising within Gabon's PDG party as power struggle intensifies, with 2 factions competing for control of the headquarters. Ali Bongo insists he remains the chairman and has tasked Ali Akbar Onanga to recognize the party for upcoming elections. Meanwhile, Côte d'Ivoire's opposition seeks international backing for a transparent electoral process, with key visits from African Union, ECOWAS, and United Nations representatives. Ese Luciengo reports on this.
In Gabon, the power struggle within the PDG party is intensifying. 2 groups are contesting the party's headquarters. This Monday, July 21st, the officials appointed by Ali Bongo, who is currently in exile, plan to hold a meeting at the PDG headquarters, which is currently occupied by the new leaders recently appointed following a congress held on July 31st earlier this year after the fall of Ali Bongo. Ali Bongo claimed claims that he's still the chairman and has appointed Ali Agba Onanga as Secretary General to reorganize the party for the upcoming elections. The meeting this Monday will be led by Bongo's deputy, Aktu Benga, in the absence of Onanga. The aim of the meeting is to establish a mutual relationship with the recently appointed officials. Elsewhere, as the October 25th presidential election approaches in Côte d'Ivoire, calls for the involvement from international community are becoming divisive. Opposition parties are urging the international community to support a fair and inclusive electoral process. In recent weeks, pre-election missions have increased, with representatives from the African Union, the Economic Community of West African States (ECOWAS), and the United Nations visiting. These emissaries have come to emphasize the importance of dialogue between opposition parties. And in Burkina Faso, the adoption of several traders in Ouagadougou after they criticized the government's efforts to regulate motorcycle prices has sparked waves of panic throughout the country. While their loved ones were desperately searching for them, the traders suddenly emerged in videos circulating on social media dressed in military uniforms and asking for government forgiveness. This situation is currently being investigated, especially as the transition authorities are accused of intimidating those who voice their concerns.
The international page done by A.C. Lucilienko ends the second part of the news. Talking Point is up next. Tonight on Talking Point, I'll be having as guest Sha Nforgang. He is a member of the MANIDEM party's communication unit, and we'll be looking at why the candidacy of Professor Maurice Kamto is causing a lot of problems at the helm of some parties. Why are people kind of saying some kind of disgusting words as far as his candidacy is concerned? That's what we'll be looking at in tonight's edition of Talking Point. Good evening, Sha Nforgang. It's a pleasure to have you on Talking Point tonight.
Good evening, Immaculate, and it is a great pleasure being your guest this evening.
Sha Nforgang, you are a member of the communication unit of MANIDEM party, and that's one of the reasons why I had to choose you today for tonight's edition. What were the key factors that led the MANIDEM party to choose Professor Maurice Kamto as their candidate, and what qualities do you believe make him the best fit for the party at the moment?
First of all, we wanted to give the political allowance to all those who are qualified to stand as candidate to do so. And we realized that Professor candidate has a problem at that level, and we decided to give you that possibility. Secondly, we believe that Cameroon really needs change, and amongst all those who are intending to stand as candidate, we believe Maurice Kamto is the best. He's the only person who can really challenge Mr. Paul Biya, and in the only one we can win the elections. Those are some of the elements that really orientates our party toward Maurice Kamto.
Now, what is the official stance of MANIDEM party on allegations that the party was paid to invest Professor Maurice Kamto? How do you plan to counter this narrative to maintain momentum during the presidential elections?
We don't care about all what people have been saying, because in the past decades now, people used to say so many things about our president. You know, people claim that he's very close to ministers, he has friends in the government, and many people used to say things that are not correct. So we are used to that, and we don't always answer to all those allegations. Even now, we don't care on that. We believe that we are out to save Cameroonians. We believe that a new Cameroon is possible, and that President Kamto can help us to enter into this new Cameroon, to bring the new deal that all Cameroonians are expecting.
Now, what makes Professor Maurice Kamto stand out among the over 40 presidential aspirants? From your own point of view, what's so special about Professor Maurice Kamto?
Kamto is special because among all those who have deposited their candidate, you can see the mobilization that this candidacy brought. you will realize that even in the level of the government, in the CPGM, in other parties, people keep talking about Maurice Kamto. So it seems that all Cameroonians are behind him. So about all candidacy that Elekam has received for now, we believe that the only candidate, even when the President of the Republic deposited his own candidature, we did not see a crowd of people behind him. But when Maurice Kamto left his base to Elekam, we saw hundreds of Cameroonians behind the car. When he went out of Elekam, we also saw many Cameroonians who are there to cloud, to really try to thank him for what he has been doing, try to support him, try to bring him their own support and consideration. So for us, Maurice Kamto is the only man who can really help us to move from the era we have been, the era that is lasting for decades, to a new era for our country.
Now, Sha Nforgang, how do you interpret the shift in the CPDM's arguments against Professor Maurice Kamto's candidacy from questioning his legislative or municipal representation to now attacking his eligibility despite his investiture by MANIDEM party, which is your party?
Look, those are the behavior of people who are really desperate. Because I don't know, you have your own candidature, you have your candidate, but instead of trying to come out with arguments to convince people to vote when the time comes from your candidate, you keep talking of another candidate. So these people are desperate because they are afraid. They are fearing Maurice Kamto. They know quite all right that the man who will win this election, this election of 12th October is Maurice Kamto. So if they feel desperate, that's why they are trying to come out with some arguments that cannot be accepted. Despite the fact that it did not stand for this for municipal and council parliamentary election of 2020. Now he's presented by another party. So I don't know why he should come back from what happened in 2020. So I believe these people are desperate. These people are showing to Cameroon that they are afraid of this man. They are fearing him because they know this man has the support of all Cameroonians. This man has succeeded to convince all Cameroonians that another Cameroon is possible. And they know quite right that on the 12th of October, Cameroonians will go out in masses to vote for Maurice Kamto.
Now, on Saturday, Professor Maurice Kamto officially announced that he is now a militant of MANIDEM party. What are the core ideologies and values of the MANIDEM party, and how do they align with Professor Maurice Kamto's vision for Cameroon?
I'm 100% convinced that the fight is already accepted, because if not, those people who are talking are not working for Elekam. Those people are not working for the Constitutional Council. So I don't know. You are a minister. Instead of giving your own opinion, okay, you are quite qualified to give your own opinion. But why is that instead of you being, I don't know, be concerned? Why are you so actually giving your concern on something that really not concerns you? So I believe that really this fight is already accepted because it has no problem.
Now, what are your expectations for the upcoming presidential elections in Cameroon? Do you see any signs of positive change or opportunities for the country's future?
Okay, we stood for my party for past years stood for many elections. In 2024, we presented a candidate during the presidential elections, and we did the same in 2011. In 2018, when the party decided we will not present a candidate, what we do is that we presented our plan of governance to all parties who were qualified. So we made many leaders, and we asked them just to take into consideration just 15 points. And we promised to them that if a party accepts to take that into consideration, then we will support that party. So I believe that it's not time for now. Now is not the time to come out with our ideology, but just the time we come down, we will try to present all what we believe we can do in order to change Cameroon to Cameroonians. And this program will not only come from MANIDEM, because Maurice Kamto is presented as a candidate for a consensus candidate for many parties, many movements, civil society organizations, and so on. So when the time will come, we present not our ideology to Cameroonians, but the programs carried by Maurice Kamto. And in this program, we have many points coming from MANIDEM, but others coming from other parties that make the convergence.
Sha Nforgang, member of the MANIDEM Party Communication Unit, thank you so much for your time tonight. And that's all put a cap to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your key attention. Stay in the company of more interesting programs on Equinoxe Television. Bye-bye for now.